welcome to Catholic News Roundup. I'm Christine Niles. Today's January 10th, 2026. Here are this week's top stories. The Pope is calling out Islamist violence against Christians. The remarks came in a major foreign policy speech to ambassadors delivered Friday.
The many victims of violence, including religiously motivated violence in Bangladesh, in the Sahel region, and in Nigeria, as well as those of the serious terrorist attack last June on the parish of St. Elias in Damascus. Nor do I forget the victims of jihadist violence in Cabo Delgado, Mozambique.
He also condemned abortion and surrogacy.
We categorically reject any practice that denies or exploits the origin of life and its development. Among these is abortion, which cuts short a growing life and refuses to welcome the gift of life. Likewise, there's the practice of surrogacy. By transforming gestation into a negotiable service.
After condemning the resurgence of war, he once again called for a two-state solution in Palestine and protection of civilians in the West Bank.
The two-state solution remains the institutional perspective for meeting the legitimate aspirations for both peoples. Yet sadly, there has been an increase in violence in the West Bank against the Palestinian civilian population, which has the right to live in peace in its own land. Also in Rome, a Hong Kong cardinal is blasting Synodality. At Rome's consistory of cardinals this week, Cardinal Joseph Zen delivered a speech scorching the so-called synodal process. He said, quote, "The ironclad manipulation of the process is an insult to the dignity of the bishops, and the continual reference to the Holy Spirit is ridiculous and almost blasphemous." Bishop Robert Barron also weighed in, urging caution, saying that the synodal process should not be, quote, "forums for debate regarding doctrine." In North Carolina, priests are asking Rome for clarity on their bishops' rules. Clergy from the embattled Diocese of Charlotte, where Bishop Michael Martin is banning kneelers and altar rails, among other things, sent a set of questions called dubia to the Vatican, asking whether the bishop's ban is lawful. According to media site The Pillar, the letter also asks whether the bishop may ban Roman-style vestments, which are not prohibited in church law. A leaked draft by the bishop indicates he'll go much farther and ban priest prayers during vesting and Latin prayers during Mass. And turning to the military, women may be eliminated from combat roles. This from the Department of War, which is mounting a 6-month review of women in combat to determine their operational effectiveness. In September, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth announced new standards for women in the military.
Because war does not care if you're a man or a woman. Neither does the enemy. Nor does the weight of your rucksack, the size of an artillery round, or the body weight of a casualty on the battlefield who must be carried. But when it comes to any job that requires physical power to perform in combat, those physical standards must be high and gender neutral. If women can make it, excellent. If not, it is what it is. If that means no women qualify for some combat jobs, so be it. That is not the intent, but it could be the result, so be it.
And turning to President Trump, he is urging compromise on taxpayer funding of abortion, but pro-lifers are pushing back. He made the comments about the HYDE amendment to House Republicans Tuesday.
Let the money go directly to the people. Now, you have to be a little flexible on HYDE. You know that. You got to be a little flexible. You got to work something. You got to use ingenuity. You got to work.
Numerous pro-lifers are rejecting his suggestion, including Lila Rose, who tweeted, "If you sacrifice HYDE, you sacrifice innocent human children." Catholic Vote's Kelsey Reinhardt wrote, "Honoring HYDE is not about inflexibility. It is about moral consistency and public restraint on an issue as grave and irreversible as abortion." Ryan Anderson insisted
It is unjust to force taxpayers to pay for abortion. It is also politically unpopular. Congressional Republicans should hold the line on HYDE. Family Research Council tweeted, "No flexibility on HYDE." Marjorie Dannenfelser of SBA Pro-Life America wrote, "For decades, opposition to taxpayer funding of abortion and support for the HYDE Amendment has been an unshakable bedrock principle and a minimum standard in the Republican Party." The U.S. bishops are also weighing in, saying, "Authentic healthcare upholds the dignity of all human life, and healthcare policy must not violate this dignity." In other abortion news, the Wyoming Supreme Court struck down the nation's first abortion pill ban. On Tuesday, the High Court ruled that the ban violates the Wyoming Constitution, even though the Constitution does not explicitly include abortion, but rather it mentions health care. In a 4-1 ruling, the court held that, quote, "A woman has a fundamental right to make her own health care decisions, including the decision to have an abortion." Critics note the irony, as the constitutional amendment guaranteeing a right to health care was passed in 2012 by Republicans who were pushing back against Obamacare. And in the Middle East, Iran is 2 weeks into a full-scale revolution. As of now, Iran's 2 largest cities, Tehran and MOSSAD, are under protesters' control. President Trump is weighing in.
So Iran's in big trouble. It looks to me that the people are taking over certain cities that nobody thought were really possible just a few weeks ago. We're watching the situation very carefully. I've made the statement very strongly that if they start killing people like they have in the past, we will get involved. We'll be hitting them very hard where it hurts. And that doesn't mean boots on the ground, but it means hitting them very, very hard where it hurts. So
the revolt hopes to oust Ayatollah Khamenei and his repressive Islamist regime, in power since 1979. Photos are circulating showing women lighting Khamenei's photo on fire. Reza Pahlavi, son of the former Shah of Iran, driven out in 1979, is urging continued protests.
اکنون نقش بسیار مهم و کلیدی رو می‌توانید ایفا بکنید. از همه مهمتر در شرایط کنونی ادامه تجمعات در سطح شهرها و کشورهای خارجی است و همچنان اطلاع رسانی به نهادهای سیاسی، دولتی و رسانه‌ای.
Critics are saying the revolt is not organic, but a color revolution fomented by the CIA and MOSSAD, Israel's spy agency. Former CIA Director Mike Pompeo basically confirmed it in a January 2nd tweet. Happy New Year to every Iranian in the streets. Also to every Mossad agent walking beside them. That is an actual tweet. Unlike Khamenei, Pahlavi is propped up by Israeli money and hopes to establish ties with Israel if he gains power in Iran. According to unconfirmed reports, hundreds of protesters have already been shot by government forces. That is this week's Catholic News Roundup. Please go to stellamaris.media to sign up to our email list for the latest news and updates. And please help us to grow our channel by liking and sharing our content. Thank you so much for watching. May God bless your week. I'm Christine Niles.